Hello explorers and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna talk about Expect a Better Tomorrow Hackathon. Story time! Well, this episode is not so much code. I can go into the code in a different video if you like, but today I'm gonna talk more about the experience of going to a hackathon. And I remember from my youth when you stayed up with your friends and did an all-nighter, or perhaps you were at the demo party and you stayed up for multiple days hacking away trying to build something. In those days it was usually some demo that had some graphical effects that you wanted to show off, or something quite insignificant, or perhaps a new hack that you wanted to try on your school, or something really weird or out there. But it usually didn't have a real purpose, or it didn't enrich anyone's life. So I was fronted by LinkedIn from Sigma, a company in Sweden, and I guess they have consultancies around the world as well. And they wanted to have a hackathon and wondered if I wanted to participate. And a hackathon is where you meet up with people that either are coders, or they are project managers, or they are designers, or anything inside of our field. So they are business people. They are people that actually work in the field, or they are people that are studying in the field. So there were a lot of people from academia and students that just were finishing up their thesis and so on. So there was a lot of different people there, and I didn't know much when I got fronted with this proposal. I got a link to a very suspect website. It had a lot of dashes instead of spaces, and it ended with the dash before the dot in a subdomain, which made it impossible to open on iPhones, and it was impossible to open on some servers where the domain DNS didn't want to open it, and so on. And I got some security warnings from some people as well, because I actually opened this URL, I signed up, and then I sent the URL to my friends, hoping that they also wanted to join or were interested in this kind of a thing. The hackathon website didn't say so much about what the actual things we were working on was going to be, or who will give us the actual problems to solve or anything. It was just a generic hackathon page, which made it really hard to actually find out if you wanted to go or not. They had it connected to a Facebook page, but I don't use Facebook that much, so I missed that point. I didn't connect to their Facebook page, so I missed a lot of the information. And around a week before the actual event, I got an email telling me that they wanted to do an event, and there were 3 organizations that were giving problems to this event. It was Bräckeskolan, it was Move to Gothenburg, and Star for Life. And I didn't know anything about these organizations. Bräckeskolan, I could figure out that they probably were a school in Sweden, but that was pretty much it. So when I gone into this, I had to actually think a little bit about what am I getting myself into. First off, when you go to any event of any kind, you should think about your personal safety. It's very important. Don't forget about that. You want to do these kind of things because they can be really fun, but you must feel safe, and you must feel that there are people there that want the same thing that you want. So you actually go there to meet the goal, and the people that are there also have the same goal. That's very important, because if you're not feeling safe, you will not have fun. So that's the first point you want to figure out. This next part is figure out who's is organizing this, and can I expect that they will fix everything for me, so I just show up with my computer and make my work. As it was Sigma that hold this event, and I believe them to be a reputable company, I thought that I would probably get some food when I went there. I would probably find somewhere to sleep. It was suboptimal in my case. I got one of those inflatable pillows that actually deflated during the night, so I had a not so good sleep, but then again, I don't need that much sleep. But overall, it was a really fun thing to go to. It was a strange experience when you had energizers, and that was people that actually made you do different routines to keep your energy level up. So we did a lot of plays and different games, and there were also some yoga during the morning time if you wanted to do that. But we got food and sleep, and those are the basics that you need to actually have in order to make this event happen. So I got there and we got to listen to what the problems was. Bräckeskolan's problem was that they wanted to figure out a way to take resources that people have and distribute them to the people that don't have those resources. So resource distribution from haves to don't haves. And it was a really interesting problem. And I was thinking a bit about how I would solve that problem. But then again, the next group was moved to Gothenburg, and they had the problem that when you move to Gothenburg and you get to a company and you want to work for a company in Gothenburg, you usually get some benefits that you don't get outside of Sweden. And those benefits are hard to measure in real money, because they are quite nice to have, and you have to pay for them in other countries. So they really wanted to give you all the information you wanted to know when you move to Sweden in order to actually figure out if it's a benefit for you to move to Sweden and work here. And as they have a program Move to Gothenburg, they really wanted to engage with people that wanted to move here and work. So that was an interesting program, and how they wanted to communicate this information. And last but not least, there was this Star for Life problem. And this problem was that there is an organization, Star for Life, that works with schools in Africa. And they have set up an organization down there where they are holding teachings, and they have a lot of students that actually learn a lot of things in those schools. And then they have, because these schools cost a lot of money to run, and they have a lot of events and so on, and this Star for Life organization then takes sponsor money from large companies in Sweden. And their problem was that large companies in Sweden wanted to know what happened in Africa. And the people working in Africa needed to send a report to the large companies in Gothenburg or in Sweden. And those reports were seldomly sent. They were delayed. I think they got reports once every 6 months. And they really wanted to open up for more communication between these entities and actually figure out how to make this experience better for all parts. And I was put into a group, or not put into a group, I actually sat down at a table and said, "Hello, I want to know more about you." And I was fortunate enough to happen on a table with a pretty diverse group of people. as we were from different countries and had different upbringing and so on. Sadly, it wasn't a diverse group of people when it comes to gender, for instance. So we were only guys there. Maybe we would have had even more good conversations if we had an even more diverse party. So that's an important part, that you want to have different people. And when I'm talking about diversity, I also talk about different line of work. So we weren't all programmers. There were some project managers, there were some designers, and we had a good mix of people that worked in different line of work, which will also give different point of views into the problem. And you also need to actually think about inclusion, not only diversity, and that you actually have a lot of people that want to be there and want to work out with you. So if you have a good set of people working together, if you don't include them into the problem, then you will have a lot of problems actually making things work. So everybody need to be included in this work. So what I learned from this was, as I like to talk a lot, I had to step back a bit. I had to listen, and I really had to figure out what the different standpoints were in the group. And we had someone that actually made some notes, and I think we spent about 6 hours actually talking about the problem. So we spent a lot of time talking about the problem. And if you have 24 hours to actually build something and create something good, spending some time up front to actually figure out what the solution, or not the solution, or what the actual problem could be. Because when you get a problem, it's very one-sided, and perhaps you are missing some details, perhaps you haven't really thought about all the different stakeholders in the problem, and so on. And by having a diverse group, you could really discuss and figure out what did the people from Star for Life think about this, and what did they actually think were the problem. What did the actual coaches down in Africa think was the problem with communication? Or did they actually see it as a problem? And what did the companies think about this? And what did they actually think was the problem, and so on? So we spent a lot of time actually thinking about these things. And when you are a person like me, talk a lot, you want to listen more. And if you are a person that usually don't say so much, maybe you should strive to share more about your views, because if everybody shares their view, the solution will be better. It will be a better solution. So the problem is really important, and that everybody is included is also very important. Then we started to actually work on the problem, and pretty much we had some guides that were there to actually help us and talk us through this, and also give us more facts about the problem and so on. And they said pretty early on that you should set up some roles, so you know who should do what. And when you are a small group, like we were, 5 people, then I think roles might not be that important. We talked about roles, we talked about who should do what and so on, but it felt pretty from the start into different roles, whether we wanted it or not. Because if you have a background of doing some kind of work, then when you have a constrained time limit, it's better that you actually do that line of work that you already know how to do. So we had some people that had a lot of experience in going to meetings, had a lot of experience in actually creating presentations and so on. So they were set on actually figuring that out. I have a lot of experience in writing code, and so did another of the persons in the group. So he was also set into actually writing some code. He was a student, so he didn't have that experience of Polymer that I wanted to work in, but he made a really good effort and helped out with a lot of the information that we wanted to put into the actual prototype that we built. Because when you show something off, it's pretty much the most important thing is to have a good visual feel, and you also need to have good data. Because if you show something and put in good data into the program, the things that you want to show off actually shines more. Because if you have just a skeleton and don't put in any data, it looks very bare. So if you do that work and actually figure out what should be where, and then figure out what it should say, it makes for a better experience. We did some planning, as we had already spent 6 hours talking about the problem. We said that we need to spend at least 6 hours trying to figure out the prototype, and during that time also doing some presentation. We probably need 6 hours of sleep, and then we need a lot of prep time to actually get ready for the demo that we wanted to do. So we set off to build this prototype, and I know more about the prototype than I do about the demo. The demo was really interesting. We did some role play in the start of the demo to actually set the expectations about the problems, and then we talked a lot about how we wanted the solution to actually be for that problem. And the prototype that we built was this little Polymer application here that we talked about, that this start page of the Polymer application should be somewhere where you showcase the different events that are happening. And these could be events that organizers have. It could be events that the actual companies have done, as in this case we have the Expect a Better Tomorrow Hackathon that we had. And you also had some from the actual schools, some events that they had. And then I put up some actual small GIFs here, or small icons, so we can go into some events. These are upcoming events, so schools could actually look here, share events between them, and actually figure out which events they wanted to go to better communication between schools. We had some school page, so this is their needs of the school. So and then we had the company page, and the company page had some information about the events that they had sponsors, and also some way for them to export and extract information about what have been discussed and how the other events that they have actually been partaken in, how they fell, and what people were thinking about when they were at these events. So they got some reporting start up, so they actually didn't need to do that much work, and maybe you could have less reporting from other places. And then we had the Star for Life page, where they talked about proposed events and things that they wanted to do in the future. And we have general chat, so all parties could go in and actually have a good conversation between each other and actually get to know each other, so you don't feel that these are large organizations or large companies and so on. So you get to know the people behind the actual programs. And then we have the previous events, where you can actually give feedback for that event, and also as a company extract that feedback in order to figure out, was this event successful, was this something that people liked, and the feedback could look something like this. You had a food night and somebody went there and ate a great cake, so a malva pudding. And as you see here, we have a lot of imagery, we have a lot of information that spices up the demo and actually makes it pop a little bit more. So I think that's important when you want to actually show things off. I think it was really fun to go to this hackathon, and it was really good experience, and I learned a lot by actually meeting a lot of people and interacting with them. And if you want to go to one of these events, I would recommend you to do so if you feel safe and if you feel that this will give you something. And sometimes they actually make competition of it. So I'm really proud to say that we actually won the first prize of the most mature solution. So there were 3 first prizes. It was the most innovative, the most mature solution, and there were one more that I have forgotten. But I thought it was really fun, and I will probably go to more hackathons in the future. I think it's something that will enrich your experience. You will meet a lot of new people, and you will probably get better at your work as well. I hope that you found this little story interesting, and maybe you get excited to go to your own hackathon or lead a hackathon for some problem that you want to solve. I have seen that some companies that I worked with have FedEx days where you work on whatever you like for a day, and a lot of interesting programs and utilities have been built during these days, and a lot of interesting ideas and concepts have been tried. So I think it's very important to actually open your eyes and try something new from time to time. Hope you liked this video. Share it with your friends and colleagues. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. If you have any comments, if you haven't been to Hackathon yourself, or if you want to know something about the Hackathon, or you have a question of any kind, please leave that down below. And I really hope to see you in the next video.